Hi fam! Today in this video I am going to be wrapping up all my 13 books that I read in February. I've been trying to say the word February for the past few minutes now, and each time I say the word, each word just sounds like weird. Like each time I say it sounds weird. So I'm just gonna say that I'm gonna be wrapping up the 13 books that I read in Feb. Okay? Because that's just... Anyway, I am going to be putting all the timestamps down below, so if there is a certain book that you want to jump to, or like you want to skip a book or whatever, please feel free to do that. Also, do let me know if you are open to like a mid-month sort of thing, so wherein I like review the books that I've read mid-month like till then, and then like also do a final wrap-up in the end where I talk about the books that I read after that. I just think that makes more sense. It will yeah, that's just what's gonna happen now, I think, from now on. Anywho, let us get into it. But before we get into the books, I want to talk about some stats, because if you saw my book tracker, I love stats. So I'm just now gonna talk to you about some of the stats. So hold on, please. Hello, I am Smriti and I am Stats Bitch. Yes, this is an alter ego of me who loves stats, hence the different glasses. I don't know, just the thing that I'm trying. Anyway, the books that I read, the number of books that I read were 13, plus I started reading A Little Life by Hanff, but I haven't finished it, and I also have not finished this book, which literally I have just read the introduction. So I don't know why I was saying that I was reading this book in Feb where I've just read the introduction, but well, it's fine. The number of pages that I have read is 3043, which gives it an average of 109 pages a day. I have put a very random goal of wanting to read about 40,000 pages in this year. So just given by that average, I should try to read 110 pages in a day. So I am down by 1 page, but it's fine. In terms of the newly purchased versus the shelved books, I have read 8 newly purchased books and 5 books that I had before 2021. So that is not great. I should ideally be reading more from my shelf, but the fact that I'm reading more books from this is just a good thing. Okay, just let it be at that. I read 9 genres, which is very cool. You can see all of these genres here. In terms of fiction versus non-fiction, I read 8 fiction and 5 non-fiction, which is way better than the 1 non-fiction to the 11 fictions that I read in January. And fun fact, the top 3 books may or may not be non-fiction. So hey, that's cool. I read from 4 countries this month, with US still being the majority, which sucks, but it's fine. In terms of gender, I read 9 female, 4 male, and 0 non-binary. And in terms of ratings, I gave 1 book 2.5 stars, 3 books 3 stars, 6 books 4 stars, 2 books 4.5 stars, and 1 5-star book. So yay. Now, bye from me, Smriti's Stats Bitch. Yes, okay, hi. That was just me wanting to wear these glasses that I bought very many years ago and haven't used them, and I just thought that these should come to some use. So I thought maybe I would change glasses for the stats thing. I don't know. It's a thing. Anyway, as I did with my previous video, I am going to be going from my least liked book to my most liked book. So again, timestamps down in the description. If you don't want to watch me talk about a certain book, then please move ahead. The first book that I'm going to talk about is very, very sad that it is my least liked book, and that is The Project by Courtney. This was a book that I was really looking forward to. It is part of my most anticipated reads as well, and that is because it's about cults. and I just really like anything to do with cults. Like, I don't want to be in one, but like I just want to know everything about it. And this basically follows like these two sisters who one gets into this accident with her parents, and her parents die and she's left really injured, and the other one is kind of like taking care of her, but then she gets involved with like this cult called the Unity Project, and like when the other sister, whose name is Lois, gets better, Bia, who's the other sister, kind of just disappears into the cult and like doesn't contact Lo anymore. So that happens. And then many years later, Lo is at like a train station when this guy who's also part of the Unity Project, with her sister, like jumps in front of the train and dies by suicide. But right before that, he recognizes her, even though she doesn't know who he is. So there's that, and she starts like wanting to dig more into the Unity Project and all of that sort of stuff. And she somehow, because of the magazine that she works in, hold on. Yes, hi, sorry. So what happens is that she gets to interview the main guy whose name is Lev Warren, and which is funny because he doesn't usually allow anyone to interview him, but he lets her, so that's a cool thing. And essentially what this book does is it tries to make you question yourself whether you yourself would join a cult or not, because it does seem like what they're trying to say seems very like logical, and you're just like, oh, you start questioning yourself and all of that sort of stuff. But to me, it did do that in the beginning, but then after that I was just like, maybe not. And I just started getting really irritated and with the characters. Like, the main character, who's Lo, just felt like this extremely petulant child who threw a tantrum in front of her boss, even though she is 20 years old. Like, this is the CEO of a magazine. Like, why would you throw a tantrum in front of him and just act like a complete idiot? Just a bunch of other things, which just I was supposed to be scared for her, but I wasn't, because I just didn't care for her too much. So yeah, there was that, and then it just kind of descended into things that were kind of like unbelievable. Like, there were twists that came in which were very just like, okay. And then I think in the end, the way things kind of turned around, I just really did not like the ending as well, which is why like I gave it a 2.5 stars. The next book that I would like to talk about, again, I am very sad for it to just have a 3-star rating, and that is The Murder at the Mushaira, by Raza Mir. And this is just such a gorgeous book, and I was really hoping that I would love this, but unfortunately I just kind of liked it. Essentially, this follows it's like this historical fiction crime thriller, which is set in 1857 in India, where there is this really famous poet called Mirza Ghalib, who becomes this sort of detective, and he tries to solve this murder that takes place in this Mushaira, which is kind of like a poets symposium that takes place, and that itself would sound really, really cool, right? But unfortunately, what happened was that there were too many sort of threads that went in and out of this book, and there were too many like motives and too many like people's perspectives and all of that sort of stuff, which I just felt made it really like convoluted and confusing. There were, as my friend Padmaja rightly said, that there were 81 characters in this book, and that's just a lot. I just don't need to know about so many characters and so many different people. Like, it was just a lot. And yeah, I think that's basically what happened. It just got lost within its multiple plot points, and ultimately in the end it wasn't as enjoyable. I feel like, as I said, if you could have just removed some of those things, it would have been a much simpler, nicer sort of book. I still do want to add that the writing in this book is supreme. I really liked the way that Raza Mir has written this book, and I will definitely be looking out for more books by him. And yeah, I also like the fact that it was set in that time, and we got to see like the first war of independence and all of that sort of stuff as well. That was also really cool how he connected it to like historical facts and things. But yeah, as I said again, I felt like it kind of got lost. The next book I would not want to talk about because I don't feel like I should talk about it at all because I've been getting so much of hate for it, and that is this one, which is Priyanka Chopra Jonas's Unfinished. And I have an entire review on it which has more than 10K views now, I think, which is insane. So thank you everyone who's been viewing this. That is great. But also it has a lot of hate comments, but so that's really fun to watch, so you should like check that out. So I will link it down and like up in the cards, I think. But yeah, this is essentially her memoir, which I sort of didn't like as much, but I also thought that it had like its good points, but I'm apparently a hater. So, and the fourth book that I would like to talk about is also has a dedicated review, which is Club You to Death by Anuja Chauhan. This also you can check out. I have just recently reviewed it. It is Anuja Chauhan's first ever like mystery novel that kind of came out, and I liked it, but I also didn't. I gave it 3 stars, and you can check out why in that review. So the next book was a book that I read immediately after I saw a video of quick reads by Leanne of Literary Divisions, I think. She made this really cool video and she spoke about this book called Address Unknown by Katherine Kressman Taylor. And this is a 67-page book, which is essentially just letters being sent between 2 friends, both Germans, who had then, after the First World War, moved to the US and started up like an art gallery sort of business. And then one who is the non-Jew of them decides to move back to Germany like for his family's cultural experience of sorts, because he has kids and he wants them to like experience the fatherland. But this is right before Hitler sort of comes into the fray. And basically as the letters are exchanged, you find out how their friendship sort of disintegrates and how stuff goes down in a not so great way. And it's really short. It's 67 pages, as I said, and I read it in 30 minutes, and it is really good. I really enjoyed it, and I also thought that while I was reading it, I was constantly thinking to myself about how it is still true to this day, because I read this in, I mean, this book was written in the 1930s, and I was constantly thinking of all of like these friends of ours who now are like these bhakts of sorts, and you just kind of never really truly know what people think and how they kind of change their minds and become completely different human beings. But it was definitely interesting and also kind of scary, but it was a good read, and I gave it 4 stars. The next book that I gave 4 stars is this one, which is Welcome to Lagos by Chibundu Unuzo. And this book is set in Nigeria, and I have actually vlogged my entire experience reading this book, and I will link you to that vlog because it also has timestamps, and I tell you about my experience while reading it and stuff like that, so you can get more thoughts. But essentially this follows a bunch of ragtag people in Nigeria and how they kind of come together through like these very weird circumstances. 2 of them are ex-military men. One is an officer, one is like just a regular military guy, one is a very young militant boy, another is a very young girl, another is a lady who is running away from an abusive relationship, another is a journalist, and another is a retired politician. And all of them kind of come together in and start getting involved in like this sort of corruption scheme which takes place. I don't really want to give too much away of the book because I think that it was really enjoyable, but this book just really, what I loved about this more than anything was the characters and the world building and how much it kind of informed you about Nigeria, because from all the own voices reviews that I kind of have gotten is that it is a very real picture of what is happening in the country, and it just kind of tells you everything frankly, and it kind of gives you like these themes of corruption and friendship and just surviving it all. And I just thought that that was really interesting. And yeah, it just was a really good book, and more about it in my vlog. So hi, editing Smithing here to also add that I listened to this on Audible as an audiobook, and it was very enjoyable. It was really nice to hear it in the Nigerian accent and to hear all of the things being said in its original tone and inflection. It was just really good and just super fun. And another book that I read in that vlog was this very small one, which is The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. And this is a non-fiction book, which basically is of two essays of sorts, with the first one being a letter which he writes to his nephew and his namesake, about racism and how he dealt with it and how like his family dealt with it and like all of that sort of stuff, and just it was very frank and real, and I really liked that. And then the second one was about him, and it really talked a lot about religion, and how he kind of grew up in Harlem, and how he fell into Christianity, became a youth pastor, and then he kind of fell out of it. He also spoke about him meeting Elijah Muhammad, who was the founder of the Nation of Islam movement in the 60s. And yeah, he just had a lot of thoughts, and I thought that it was a really interesting yet a very dense read. But yes, check out that vlog if you want to know more information about it. But of course, James Baldwin is amazing and he's supremely profound, and just yeah. The next book, which I also gave a 4-star, is this one, which is Saga Volume 4. This is the only book in the Saga series so far, which I've read. This is the 4th one that I'm reading that I have not given a 5-star fully, but still 4 stars is very good. This essentially follows this world wherein there are two warring worlds, and there are two people from these different warring worlds, called Marco and Alana, and they fall in love, and they have a child called Hazel, and Hazel is then telling their story about how they are kind of fleeing the authorities and various hitmen and just a bunch of people trying to like kill them, because you know, warring worlds and warring species, and they don't want to show love and unity and stuff like that. But this book is the 4th volume, and I felt like this one was just kind of like an in-between between like volume 3 and perhaps volume 5. It still did have a lot of things happening in it, but again, I didn't quite love it as much as I loved the previous ones. So yeah, this one got a 4-star from me. And the next book that I want to talk about, which is the 9th book, is Jiyoung Born 1982 by Choo-Nam. And this is a book translated from Korean to English, I think just about last year. And this was like the thing. I think it was a huge hit in Korea, and then it was translated and it was a huge hit elsewhere too. It is a really short novel, I think about a little more than 150 pages, and it just packs a lot. Essentially what happens is that we see the main character Kim Ji-young, who's clearly going through something in the very beginning, and then we kind of see her life from the very beginning of her life, which is when she was born, to like her present day, where she has like a kid and is married and all of that sort of stuff. But essentially she goes through a lot, and is not like harrowing a lot, but it's just very frustrating because all of the things that she went through or her mother went through, or like we see other people around her, are things that like either have happened to me or have happened to my friends or have happened to someone who I know. So it's just very interesting, troubling, I don't know, that even though geographically we are in different countries, the experiences remain the same, which is saying something for sure. But essentially we see her from like school to like high school to college to the workplace, and then marriage and motherhood, and there are a bunch of things that are spoken about. There is like female infanticide, there is like workplace harassment, there is general harassment, stalking, the gender pay gap, just a bunch of other things which are just very, very relatable but also very frustrating. And I think that what the author did just extremely, extremely well was give you these stats about things that are happening in Korea with women, but also kind of connected to this seemingly real person who is Kim Ji-young. So there are a bunch of things that are happening, and that Kim Ji-young herself is either speaking about or like it's happening to her or whatever, and then we get these stats of these things in Korea as well. So it was really, really well done that way, and I really, really liked it. I feel like this book definitely needs to be read by everyone, I think. However, personally, I felt like the end, it didn't quite tie up in this neat little bow as much as I would like to, and yeah, but apart from that, I absolutely love this book, and I thought that it is a very enlightening but frustrating but important book. And then the 10th book, which is the last 4-star read, is Out of My Mind by Sharon M. Draper. And this also I have spoken about in my vlog, so check that out. But yeah, this follows this 11-year-old black girl called Melody, who has cerebral palsy, so she can't really speak or like move around too much, but she has like a very good support system, a loving family, and all of that sort of stuff as she goes to school. But essentially we get to see like her perspective of life, of like school and just everything, and essentially it is that she is this really, really smart person on the inside, but she just really can't like say anything. But yeah, we just follow like her year or so, and it's just really, really nice. I really liked it, and I speak more about it in the vlog, so you can check that out. You can also check out the next book in another dedicated review that I did, which you asked for, which is The Good Girls by Sonia Faleiro. This is a true crime book following these two girls who were found hanging from a tree and murdered in a small village in Uttar Pradesh in 2014, if I'm not mistaken, and it just follows what happened post that, with Sonia Faleiro and the authorities kind of just like breaking the case open and trying to figure out what happened. And yeah, I speak more about it in that video, so check that out. I gave this one 4.5 stars, by the way. And the next book that I want to talk to you about is this one, which is 84 Charing Cross Road by Helene Hanff. And this is again a non-fiction book, which is a collection of letters that she wrote to this bookstore in London, and this is from basically from 1949 to 1969. That's just the bunch of letters that were written, and she's collected them and made them into this book. And this book is essentially just a love letter to booksellers, to people who love books, and it is just so lovely. But essentially, she starts off by writing to them because living in New York, she doesn't quite have access to certain books, so she writes to this bookstore which she hears has like a good collection, and they essentially start exchanging letters, and they keep sending her books and stuff like that. But through her sending these letters, she starts getting to know the people in the bookstore in London, and it's just it's just absolutely lovely, and it just really reminded me of the bookstores that I kind of speak to as well, and like the sort of correspondence that I have with them as well. And it's just so nice. I'm tearing up right now just thinking about it. It is just so lovely. But I absolutely loved Helen and like her brazen US personality, and then you see like the very UK subdued proper people and their replies, but you slowly see them also opening up, and it is also during a very rough time, because it was also during like the World War which was happening, where the UK and people in the UK were just going through a really tough time as well, and we saw all of that through like the letters that they were exchanging, and yeah, it's just such a lovely book. I plan to read the upcoming book as well, which is I think called The Duchess of Bloomsbury Street, which is like when she actually does go to the UK and meets these people. Tearing up. Okay, but anyway, I would also recommend for you to not only like read the book but also check out the audiobook, which is weirdly on YouTube. So I will link you down to that. It is really good, and it is also has like a cast of sorts, even though they're like kind of, yeah, but it's really good. I loved it very, very much. And then the last book that I want to talk to you about today is The Annihilation of Caste. And for the life of me, I do not know where I have kept the copy. I feel like my mom has probably taken it, so I don't know. Maybe that is it. But essentially, this was a group read that I had with me and Manya hosting, and we had a bunch of people joining us for the group read, which just made the experience so much better, and we discussed it, and it was just so lovely. Essentially, this book is a speech written by B.R. Ambedkar, who is the father of our Indian Constitution, as well as one of the foremost leaders of the Dalit movement, and this was about annihilating the caste system and what his thoughts are about the caste system, and how he felt that in order to move forward as a society in India, you need to annihilate the caste system completely. And it was a speech that he was supposed to give at the Jat Paat Lok Mandal, but then they kind of cancelled it because he thought that his thoughts were just way too like extreme for him, for them. And it's really, really interesting because in the beginning you kind of see these letters that like each person explains, and it's just like burn after burn after burn, because like Ambedkar is just such a savage. He just completely like shuts them down, and it's amazing. But yeah, I read this book in the Navyana edition, and I would definitely recommend that you check out that edition, because the great part about this, and I do not think I will ever be able to read a non-fiction like and not be disappointed because of these footnotes, because these footnotes were insane. Like the editor gave you so much of context, gave you so much of information, and just like these thoughts for each and everything that was kind of mentioned in this book, and it was just so well done. So yeah, it's great. But yeah, essentially we follow like what his thoughts were on the caste system, and he just had like systematically broken down as to like why he thought that it needs to be annihilated. And it's just such a brilliantly done book, and he is so smart and articulate, and just as well as a savage, as I said. It is a very easy read, actually, to be honest. I was very nervous about getting into it previously because I didn't feel like I felt like it was probably going to be like very academic, but it wasn't. It was a speech which was supposed to be understood by the masses, so it was definitely easy to understand. And with all of these like footnotes, etc., it just became a much easier read, and it definitely gives you a lot to chew on, a lot to kind of think about, and it just changes the way that you think about the caste system and about your privileges if you have them. And yeah, that is The Annihilation of Caste. I do hope that you read the book as well, and as I said, please do check out the Navyana edition of it, and as Manya has very rightly said, that do read the book only from start off with The Annihilation of Caste. There is the beginning of the book, which is another book of sorts, or an introduction, which is a very long introduction by Arundhati Roy, which is called The Doctor and the Saint. She suggested that you skip it a bit and then read that, and then read Doctor and the Saint if you want to. So go about it like that if you are going to do it. But yes, this was my 5-star read of this month. So as you can see, I had, I think, an okay month. I didn't have as many 5-star or 4.5 stars as I would have liked, but it's all good. I'm hoping that my March will be much better, maybe, perhaps. I still think that I got some solid reads in here. If you have read any of these books, do let me know what you think of them down below. If you are going to read them, do let me know what you think down below. And if you have reached till here, you can leave me a blue heart emoji. Okay, that's about it. I don't know. Like, subscribe, comment. I don't know. I don't know how to end these things. Like I get very awkward. I feel like I need to like. Okay, I'm just gonna go. Bye.